Ali Zoop says, prayer request for all those deported and imprisoned in El Salvador and their families. One of their lawyers says she's worried their families may never see them again. We will be praying for the Malizu. On that note, I want to talk a little bit about the story I read this weekend. It was along these lines. It was especially in regards to Mr. Garcia, Kilmar Garcia. I probably messed up his first names. I apologize. We should be praying for him. He is a legal resident of the United States. He was granted legal status, I think, in like 2019. He's married with a family. He's a taxpayer. He has no criminal record, but he was caught up and swept away and sent to El Salvador. I'm sure you've heard his story. It's been all over the news. Bring Kilmar home. He was sent by mistake. The Trump administration has come out and said it was an administrative error that sent him to El Salvador. He was never sent to El Salvador because of anything he did. He was never sent there because of his immigration status, his status in the United States. He was sent there because somebody goofed. Somebody made a mistake. He's in a maximum security prison in El Salvador, despite the fact that he was granted refuge in the United States because, at least in part, a judge was convinced that he would suffer at the hands of El Salvadorian gangs if they sent him home. And they sent him to a prison filled with El Salvadorian gang members by mistake. And the Trump administration, this was the thing that got me. The Trump administration is currently fighting a judge's order, though a judge this weekend said, we want him back on Monday. Get it done. There's no good excuse for it. Get him back. Get it done now. The DOJ, Trump administration, is arguing that the judge cannot return the man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. They can't bring him home. They won't bring him home. They don't think they should have to bring him home. They're saying they don't actually think the judge has the power, the authority to make them bring him home, despite the fact that they sent him there by mistake. Now, I'm a parent. The other day I got an email. My son is very curious, and it was the first time he's ever done this. I hope it's the last time he ever does this. But he got on a computer and he typed in a subject that he was interested in hearing about, and he has a love for history, and I think he might have gotten it from me. And he's curious about World War II. We have a lot of my grandfather's stuff hanging in my home. In our home, and he's curious about my grandfather. The other day, he was talking about that little crooked cross from the 1930s and 40s that fellow with the wee little strange mustache was known for, and I don't know why, I was just feeling really impassioned, and I said, I showed him a picture of my grandfather's regiment, which is a big, massive, blown up picture of their regiment, and I said, by July 7th, 1944, half of those men were gone because of that crooked little weird figure that represented that man with the wee little funny mustache. Half of those guys were dead. They lost half of the regiment in a month after Normandy. That, I think, God spurred him on. I tell stories in a long way. I apologize. I blame Herodotus. Anyhow, Charlie ordered a book. I didn't know he ordered a book, but he ordered a book. And I got an email saying, your order's on the way. And I went, I didn't order it. But it was something, he wanted a book about he picked a good one, I think, A Brief History of the Third Reich. I had to sit, I went to him, I talked to him, I said, you can't do that, you can't order those things, and da-da-da-da-da. And then I went back and I looked at it again, and I realized that they didn't charge me because apparently I must have had a credit on the account. And so when I went back to him, I said, listen, I just want to apologize. There was a credit on the account, but you still don't want you ordering things without your mother and I's approval. But the bottom line, I misunderstood something. I told him that I got charged for it. I didn't actually get charged for it. And so I apologized for it, and I tried to make amends. Now, this is something that from start to finish in the Bible, we're kind of told. It's something that as children, we are taught by our parents. When you screw up, make amends. When you screw up, fix it. When you screw up, take care of it. Make it better, right? If at all possible, make it better. At least say I'm sorry. If not, make amends. Make restitution. Fix the problem. This isn't like, by no stretch is this some otherworldly understanding of a spiritual way of living. This is common decency. When you make a mistake, fix it. In every possible way, fix it. As much as you are able, fix it. Move heaven and earth if you have to fix it. There's kids right now whose dad is in an El Salvadorian prison, and they're not sure they're going to see him again. There's a wife who's not sure she's going to see her husband again because the U.S. government made a mistake that they can fix. Now, part of the argument is, well, if we, he's in the hands of a foreign sovereign government that you are paying for. They are your service provider. You are the customer. Remember the customer is always right. Give us back our man. That's all it would take, at least as far as I'm concerned. Go get him. He's in your prison. We paid you for this service. Again, I'm so flabbergasted by the notion that this incredible government, that the U.S. government, despite the fact that they recognize they made a mistake, are not willing to try to make it right. What lesson does that teach us? What lesson does that teach the kids? Teach our kids? What path does that take us down when we can say, no, I don't have to make restitution. No, I don't have to make amends. I mean, it's for what it's worth, even for like right-wing Christians, right? Like just right-wing fundamentalist, take the Bible literal kind of Christians. It's there. Eye for an eye, right? Tooth for a tooth. That's civil law. That's when you mess up, you gotta offer restitution. You gotta fix it, right? It's throughout this book of ours. And again, take the book away. It's just common decency. So folks, my encouragement to all of us, if we're going to learn from this, my encouragement is when you make a mistake, do what you can to fix the issue. When you make a mistake, do what you can to mitigate the consequences to the other person. When you make a mistake, do what you can to make the other person whole. We can do that. We don't, we may never be forgiven. We may never be praised. We may never be rewarded, but we will be releasing a burden from our backs. We'll be releasing we'll be letting go of a weight that we would have to carry for the rest of our lives. Can you imagine? Imagine being Pam Bondi right now. Department of Justice. She really wants to toe Trump's line. I get that. But can you imagine in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, 40 years' time, I could have saved that guy. I fought against saving that guy. I argued against saving that guy. We made the mistake. It's not going to reflect badly on Trump. It was never going to reflect badly on him. It was never going to reflect badly on me. A bureaucratic mistake took place. And I argued against rectifying it. And a man suffered. A man suffered in a way that I wouldn't want anybody to suffer. If we make a mistake, morally and ethically, we have a responsibility to do what we can to make things right. Again, there may never be a reward for it. We may never experience praise for it. We might never hear thank you. We may never be forgiven for the mistake in the first place. We do it because it's the right thing to do. We do it because it's what God would ask us to do. We do it because a person shouldn't have to continue to suffer for something that we did. They shouldn't continue to have to suffer the consequences of something that we did when we could have, again, mitigated those consequences in a timely fashion. It just requires us to be brave. It requires us to be brave, and it requires us to be courageous. It requires us to swallow our pride, perhaps. It requires us to acknowledge and accept responsibility for that thing we know we've done wrong, and for the thing that probably the world knows we've done wrong. Some of us, I hope all of us are capable. I hope all of us are capable of such courage. And it's really saddening. It's really infuriating to me that these people of authority don't seem to have that courage, don't seem to have that the wherewithal to accept their responsibility in this moment. It's sad and scary. Amen.